Today we're going to be talking about a topic that we actually find to be fascinating. Really find this topic to be interesting for a lot of people that have been working from home. And we want to talk about the effects on the real estate market from the standpoint of apartments in Los Angeles. The reason is because that's what the Goldfinger group focuses on, is apartments in Los Angeles. So we're going to talk about the impact of people working from home, what impact that's going to have and already has started having on the apartment market in Los Angeles. Max is going to talk about it. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we're not working from home.
That's right. We actually never stopped. I think we had like 2 days off from the office, and our previous office, we had a lot of space. We had probably about 20 feet per person, and now we're, probably should spread out a little bit. But
well, at least we look like we're in the office.
Exactly.
We'll get to that. So yeah, it's a fact, right, that more people are spending more time at home, working from home. A lot of offices, to comply with COVID, have told their employees to stay home. It's safer to be home and not put yourself at risk and put your family at risk by coming into the office. This is something that I think people kind of have wanted for a long time, not COVID, but to be able to work from home, at least have flexibility to do that. So, right now we've seen offices over the past probably 6 months start to reopen or temporarily reopen and have a combination of work from home, but also come in for meetings, for teams to collaborate, whatever that is. And so, we'll get into where we see this going. And as Elijah said, we want to focus on what's going to happen to apartment buildings. And I think the biggest point about all of this, the whole work from home, is that because people are spending more time at home, they want their space to be suitable for them. They want bigger space, more space, right? If you have a spouse or you have kids, you have roommates, you want to have the capability to go to another room to take phone calls, to shut the door, have a quiet space to focus on whatever you're doing. And so what that means is if people want more space and better space, they're going to pay more for it. It costs more to have nicer space and bigger space, whether it's a house or an apartment. So what we see happening is people going out and chasing the higher quality apartments, the nicer apartments, and spending maybe a couple extra $100 a month to have that space to be able to work from home.
Yeah, if you think about the additional hours that someone who's working an 8-hour day, and now they're 8-hour day plus a lunch break for an hour, so a 9-hour day, and maybe they're taking that lunch break somewhere, they're going out for that lunch break. So let's call it 8 hours, right? Spending an additional 8 hours at home, well, that's a lot of time. That's probably double what you were spending. Minus your sleeping hours, that's probably double what people were spending. So if you're going to be spending that much more time somewhere, you're gonna pay more because you're using it more on a minute by minute basis. You're actually paying less, because you're getting so much more space, and the incremental cost is not going to be. You'll probably pay a few $100s more a month and get that extra bedroom. So one thing that we're definitely seeing is people moving into larger spaces where they have outdoor areas, where they have an additional home office. We've also been seeing people move into suburban areas where they can get more bang for their buck.
Oh, now my turn again?
I know, there's supposed to be like this thing where it's like, you stop and then the other guy goes.
I just keep listening to you. It's great.
We gotta go to acting classes or something.
Yeah, I think part of the movement out of large cities was due to, obviously the pandemic and being so close to other people. People wanted to escape to more spread out neighborhoods. I think there was an affordability factor, right? People were losing their jobs and saying, I don't have the income anymore to support the rent that I'm paying. So I'm either gonna move to a cheaper area, I'm gonna move in with my family, I'm gonna move in with a friend into a cheaper unit. So I think that's part of it, but also the suburban neighborhoods tend to be more affordable. And because they're bigger spaces in terms of city layout, the apartments, the buildings are bigger, which means the units are bigger. So we do see that, but I think there's going to be a balance of that, right? If my office is closed, I don't need to live next to my office. I can live wherever I want, whatever that means. So if I want to live closer to the beach, I'll move to the west side, even though my office is in downtown, right? That commute a year ago would take an hour or more both ways. So you're spending 2 hours in the car, so you may live closer to your office. But now I can live by the beach because I want to live by the beach and I can still work from home. Or maybe I want to move to the suburban. I like the quiet life more. And for us, the valley is the suburban area. A commute to downtown LA would take an hour, hour and a half each way. And that's so much time in the car that people don't have to spend anymore.
Right. I think some of the other neighborhoods in Los Angeles that will benefit are the ones that are coastal but further away from the core of Los Angeles. So you have areas like Long Beach, San Pedro, Hawthorne, Gardena, kind of those areas that definitely have strong rental demand, but because they have inherent value being close to the water, they're 7 to 12 degrees cooler in the summer. Those areas do have inherent value, I should say, by having that ocean breeze. Now, certain people shy away from living there because you're talking about a 45-minute to an hour commute, depending on traffic and exactly where you're going. But let's say you're going to downtown LA, you're talking about 45 minutes to an hour. So people are going, not really down for an hour commute. But now, if you only have to go into the office once or twice a week and hours are more flexible and you can get in at 11 as opposed to having to be there at 9 o'clock. So that opens up a lot of flexibility for people's options to go, hey, where can I get the best bang for my buck? Incorporating that, hey, maybe once or twice a week I don't have to go into the office, but that's not such a big deal, especially with flexible work hours.
Definitely.
One other thing I'd like to point out is that for people that have been experiencing the rental market in Los Angeles, either as a tenant or as a landlord, I want to make sure that we all realize that what's happening now, what's happened over the past 6 to 8 months, is not what's going to happen, in 10 years or even sooner, even in 6 months from now. The reason I say that is because when COVID hit March, April, May, people started freaking out, rightfully so. People started freaking out and going home, going back to live with their parents, especially if you're between the ages of, let's say, 18 and 30, right? And your parents are, happy to take you in and especially during a global pandemic. Maybe not normally they wouldn't, but during a global pandemic, they say, okay, you can come back home. So my point is as follows. Let's say you had 3 roommates. They're each paying $1,000 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment in Mar Vista, let's call it. Okay, you had one of them leave, and now you have 2 people that are splitting that rent of $3,000 a month. So they're each paying $1,500 a month before they were paying $1,000 each. Okay, they're going to each other, I don't want to be on the hook for the extra $500. The next one splits, the third guy's left paying $3,000 a month. He splits home back to his parents, and boom, you have vacancies. Seen a lot of vacancies in these roommate situations. And the reason is because if your employer is saying, hey, you can work from home, and by the way, all the bars are shut down, there's no nightlife, you can't enjoy the experience of living in the city, well then why would you pay all that money? I told someone, I said, it's like paying for a movie ticket without being able to go into the movies. And they said, Sam Zell said it better. He said that it's like paying for a ticket to Disneyland where all the rides are shut down. So the bottom line is that what's happening now from a city shutdown perspective, that effect on the rental market is very different than the effect of what we're going to see in 6 months from now, which is more on the positive side, which is flexibility in the workplace.
Absolutely, and I think what the apartment demand comes down to today, from work from home at least, and over the next 6 to 12 months, is people are going to look for quality of the apartment, which is quality of life, and whatever that means. And I think what falls into that is appealing to the tenant demand of amenities, right? Can you create common areas, lounges, or office space in an apartment building so that people can work from home? Can you offer free internet to the tenants so that they can work from home and not pay an additional cost? I think another really cool concept, we see this in like the 200 to 300 apartment unit complexes in the South, is they have a common area where you can get coffee. And I think that's a really cool concept now in LA, is is if I'm spending all my time in my apartment complex, maybe I want to go to a space where I can have my private office, get some coffee, maybe get some food, like creating a cool service. And I think part of this too is, services, right? Is can you create like a food delivery partnership, like through your management as an owner or as a tenant? Can you find properties that offer these services, right? In New York, I had friends when I lived there. The apartment complex had a laundry service where like the management or whoever or the company they set it up with would come pick up your laundry and drop it off the next day.
I could use that.
You probably could.
I could use that, yeah.
So I think these are cool things, like in terms of on top of apartment demand is what do tenants want. And I think that these are a lot of things that can attract tenants and enhance the experience and the rent that you can get at a property, right? If you say, hey, you pay an extra $100, but you get free internet, you get laundry service, we'll deliver your groceries, whatever that balance is, I think is a really cool idea.
At the end of the day, it's like we were saying before, if you're spending another 8 hours in a space, right, it's justifiable. People can reason, people can pay that extra money because, hey, I'm spending another 8 hours a day here. So I want to pay more to get better services, better amenities, and have ultimately a better quality of life. They say necessity is the mother of invention. And while respectfully to everyone who's, gotten sick or lost someone, God forbid, to COVID, but you gotta, sometimes look at the silver linings around things and say, hey, what are the benefits? What good has actually come out of this? And the benefit of this flexible work style, let's call it, right? Being able to work remotely, being able to have more flexible hours of when you come in, when you go to the office. That's something that people have wanted for many, many years. This is, it used to be you had to clock in at this time, you had to be there at that time, and over the past 10 years, let's say, things have gotten, with the internet, things have gotten a lot more flexible. And we were trending this way already. And what COVID has done has forced companies to allow people to work from home. And technologies have evolved in order to monitor, track activity, and have a better understanding on analytics, on who's performing, who's not performing, getting a much better understanding of productivity from employee standpoint. That has all helped us kind of get to where companies and employees really want it to be, which is providing another service for the employees, another luxury of, hey, you can work from home, you can have a flexible work schedule as long as you get done.
You can work from the beach. You can
work from the beach?
Yeah.
Well,
depends.
We're close enough.
Yeah, so I mean, look, we talked a little bit about the marketplace. I think on the housing side, at least apartment side, office, it's a weird area right now. A lot of office buildings, complexes have been ghost towns. I know a lot of companies are saying, hey, maybe I can downsize. I don't even need my employees to come in. Maybe I just need a conference room for meetings.
Could they bleep out where I just said
You just said it again, so.
Okay, that's not.
Yeah, so I think office buildings, may need to repurpose. They're gonna have to find ways to get people back in, at least from a tenant standpoint. And a lot of that's gonna come down to the company culture, right? Where are companies at today? I think office owners can only do so much. What does a business owner want to do? Do they see some of their employees being more productive from home and saying, I don't even want you to come in, just stay home, you're doing such a great job. And then the employer's like, great, I'll stay home as much as you want me to stay home. So, I think the office space is going to be, for lack of a better word, weird over the next 6 to 12 months as, forget the pandemic, but just as companies are starting to figure out what is our work from home and going into the office schedule and routine that's going to work best for our productivity.
I think, 30, 40 years ago to start a small business was, you really had to know what you were doing,
yep.
Right? You had to have a lot of connections, a lot of ducks in a row to really to get your business off the ground. Today, you can go on LegalZoom, you can form an LLC, you can start your business. You don't need an office space. The world was trending this way for the past 20 years to make it easier for people to start new businesses, small businesses. The reason why I think that this is important is because small businesses, you don't need an office space, especially if you're just working on your own. So work from your living room, right? I mean, some of the greatest, companies today were built out of garages, right? And living rooms and dorm rooms. So it's become more and more socially acceptable for people starting out to not have an office space already. And what this is, the big companies, the big corporations out there are always going to have office spaces. Those are never going to go away. When you have that many people, you're trying to create a company culture, you're trying to create a certain workplace environment. Yes, things are going to change. Yes, you're going to have flexibility. Yes, you're going to have people that are going to commute from this office to that office and be able to travel. And by the way, I think travel is going to increase a lot in the next 6 months as people get more and more comfortable with that. I think traveling, having membership at different co-working offices is something that's also probably going to become really popular for people that are working on their own. But the small business owner, the person who is on his own, maybe has 1 or 2, 3, 4 employees, those companies are seeing less and less of a need, especially because there's so few people to track. There's a less of a need to spend the kind of budget that they were spending. And why should you spend $5,000 a month on an office when everyone can just meet up once a week in a conference room that you rent out, or even a Starbucks type of thing, and everyone can do the team huddle, and then keep with the technologies that we have out there with Streak, and I don't even know what these apps are that we use are, but with all the platforms and all the technologies and the apps keeping track of everything, it's just there's less and less of a need for office space. So the office spaces that do want to stay in business, that want to attract the big corporations to take up to lease their spaces, ultimately they're going to have to step up their game, and they're going to have to improve their amenities, their quality, their services. And that's the way that they're going to be able to attract the big corporations to lease their spaces.
Yeah. And I think we're on the same page that work from home is going to stay. It's just a matter of what's the breakdown. If companies are going to maintain an office space, right, how much are they going to require their employees to come in versus how much can you work from home? But work from home is definitely going to be a huge piece moving forward for all employees of all companies. And it's just a matter of adapting to the change, right? This environment has changed. As you said, it's been wanting to change. It's been on the trend of changing to this model for a while, and now it's a matter of it came a little bit faster and very abrupt that we weren't expecting, and now we just have to adapt to it and figure out what's the best strategy now that it's here.
And on the housing side, which is what we do, we have to understand how can we create spaces? How can we reconfigure spaces? How can we create floor plans, amenities, and buildings that work for tenants so that we can get the rents that tenants are happy to pay because of what we're providing them in exchange? So that's our goal, that's our objective, that's our mission. If anyone has any ideas on how we can improve quality of life for the tenants, how to increase the amenities, create better amenities for our tenants, within a reasonable budget. Obviously, we could create a rooftop, and we got to do things that are investment conscious. So if anyone has any ideas or wants to chime in, we'd love to speak with you. DM us at the Goldfinger Group. Max and I are going to go have some dinner right now, and thanks for watching. Until next time.